Alright guys, time for some 5v5 replay analysis. Today I'm going to go through a game that Ponter just did on his channel. He's on the other side of this match. I'm going to try and take a look at it from the USA side. It's a pretty interesting one, maybe a little closer than it should have been. Ponter gave the USA side a lot of credit here for being an experienced match mode team. I kind of agree with that. I think it was a little closer than it should have been. But at the same time, there's some problems here on this side that I'll kind of get into that might have led to this being a more difficult match than it should have been. And I'll just kind of tell you my hypothesis right off the bat. I think we didn't spend enough TA and effort getting into town when we had the opportunity. So when you get your inf in town and kind of win the battle there, there's a window of opportunity you have before the nukes go down to take it organically. And if USA can do that on this map, then we have a pretty good shot at winning. Because generally town is on Seaside is considered a bit closer to USSR. They of course have to drive up from their side and take the two far points, so it makes it a little more difficult to cap in that regard for USSR, but ultimately they have, the building structure and the firing lanes to, make it a little bit easier for them to hold the town. So it usually takes USA in a few minutes at least to work over USSR. I'd say the 50-50 line is somewhere here along the back of town where those 2 points go. And we can see that Donald Duck has already had a chance to get his infantry up to that section. And I think that's about right. I think that's about where USSR should top out. Sometimes USA might be able to contest that building where that AT just hopped in early. In fact, I kind of wish I did, because that's a tough building to dislodge the AT from. But ultimately what I did, I focused my micro a little bit more on getting this AT up into that super strong building on the corner here. And that's going to stay there for a minute until air really pays attention and tries to get it, and I might have to hop them out soon. But one thing I've noticed about modern infantry players, or the infantry players of the day, is that they tend to play by saturation. What I mean by that is they get a lot of units, or a lot of infantry units, into one particular place that they're trying to focus on, like town for instance, and they tend to neglect the sides. I mean, right now I have a lot of my stuff going into town, but that's because I'm really trying to win it. But I do have trucks working on the sides, and I sent infantry to the sides to make sure that I was part of those caps and generated that TA. And I've got a reg overlooking beach to kind of give us vision at beach. Remember, this building weirdly gives decent vision at beach. If you put your guy on the end right away, then their tanks will just fire at it and kill that building quickly. But we can see Donald Duck and DMO, I believe, are making a pretty concerted effort to get into town. So we're going to have to spend a little bit of time dislodging them. So I place no blame on armor and support at the beginning of this match for not being in town a little bit better. Because, obviously these two ATs here are a major problem. I got a little aggressive with my drops early on, and now they're getting killed by air because we have no ground forces to assist. We also don't have med-air. Ponter went over that in his video quite a bit, that we went double armor, and this leaves us at a bit of a disadvantage. I wrote in my guide that med-air is probably ultimately what you should always do if you're a flex player, and I just think this match is a good illustration of that, because we absolutely had no ability here to leverage our double armor whatsoever, and our air player, who's a pretty good air player, was pretty much neutralized for the majority of this game. Like right there at beach, he could try and go in, but he's going to lose a ton of choppers and be forced to retreat. After just, what did he take, one tank maybe? So, but at this point, we should be getting into town, so we're good. We dislodged the last of the inf. Air is back to focusing here in town. We gotta be moving up right now. I will say it looks like support's a little weak at the moment. We also have a lot of heavy tanks on the field that just got tank busted. So Clark has 3 heavies and an APC. I keep telling him every time, please bring in more light units. You don't need this many heavies. Luckily on Seaside, there are a lot of firing lanes here, so you know, give them credit where it's due. All 3 of those heavy tanks were firing those guns. The guns were shooting when I complained just now, so at least that can be said. But I believe at this point I'm telling everybody, let's go, let's get into town because it's ready. It's ready for a cap. Because I saw that the infantry was out of our section. We finished getting the last of them out. There's a little bit on the side that I'll take care of later. But for the most part, I've got them vision all over the place. And we should be able to just flood town now with light units. But I think one of the recurring problems we'll see in this match is that our armor is not synced up with our support. So armor will go in, all the armor will die. And then support will be left to fend for itself. I think maybe part of the issue with that also is that our air player isn't able to do a lot on their side because of the uncontested mid-air on USSR. But right here, like, this should not be happening. Like, we needed our air player to focus middle while we were trying to take it. We should have gotten this. There's no reason we shouldn't have capped this. We got no tanks on the field, basically, despite having 2 armor players, because they just got wiped by air. And we have 3 AA units on the field. Hopefully they survive. But it sure would be nice if we could get some TA down on the back point, but not like a random tank buster that gets lucky and damages a heavy tank. Like, we want like a heavy arty barrage or a heavy air support here after a moment to make sure we get this cap. Arty barrage would probably be preferable to kill some of this spread AT. But we still haven't gotten town. It's inexcusable. That's the problem. And we have 4 heavy tanks on the field with 0 light tanks. I'm making a little 0 sign with my hand right now. There's 0 light tanks with 4 heavies. And we just do not have any capping power. There's no TA going down on the backside here. And someone just gave me 68 TA. So that's a problem. Now, I remember being mad when this happened. There is a legitimate argument that he should have been holding that TA. As support, a lot of times, if you see a match shaping up in a certain way, and you expect the enemy to nuke you, you might want to start saving for a counter nuke. And I think Ponter even called that out in his video, that it was, you know, time to start looking for a counter nuke. But I don't know. In this case, I felt like we were so close to capping town multiple times that it could have just been another 14 TA that put us over the edge. So I mean, if you've got like, if you're sitting on like 50 TA, 14 TA is not going to break the bank. And so it takes us a second to gather the 80 TA for that nuke. I'm screaming at my team because I was sitting on 78 TA for like an agonizing 20 seconds or something. And I knew that somebody had 2 TA and they just weren't giving it to me. And maybe I sound a little entitled right now, but we had like a -6 arrow tick or something. It was really bad. And every moment we waited was another moment that we were going to have to push the dom bar. And again, here we go. Light tanks out in front of the AA vehicles. I think people were just a little slow on the draw there. So now we're all dead. We should have capped town easy, but heavy air support killed a bunch of stuff. Luckily, we still got town with what was remaining, but there's just hardly any units on the field. Clark has another 2 heavy tanks out there when we need just a spam of light tanks right now. There's essentially no reason to have more than 1 heavy tank on the field at this point. We just need light tanks, and they're not there. We're putting down some more TA here. This is helpful. We're going to try and hold town for a little bit here. I managed to get beach with the help of the others. I'm trying to get some forts up there. So we got a pretty good tick rate going now. It's looking decent against the odds. We're doing okay. Armor is getting out ahead of the support again. To be honest, I think that's support's fault. I think support should have been up a little bit on that one because we're trying to push the front line. If you don't push the front line, they're going to keep decapping. We don't want that to happen because we need to hold the arrows. And we need to be able to recap it quickly. Support is like really dinged up here. I'll give that concession to him that probably DMR is shooting the heck out of him because our air player can't get in there because, again, the uncontested meds. So if Teflon can't get in there and kill anything, support's going to have a hard time staying alive. But Ponter pointed this moment out in his video as well. They're just going to wreck us when we try and capture this point. So I see that. I'm like, we need town. We need it. So I put down 25 TA for a capture. And this should do the trick. I also have begun my airborne invasion of the research facility. I think it's honestly a bit inexcusable that they haven't put defensive drops over there. I encountered no resistance with those drops. That is a big mistake. I say that as I'm also kind of making a bit of a mistake by not having defensive drops here at gas station, although it's a little more excusable because this is more of a gimme point, whereas research is more contestable. Enemy nukes us. This kind of hurts. It gets rid of that, infantry barrier that I had. Kills our building cover, what was left of it. Decaps supermarket. Definitely hurts. No doubt. And we're still going to have the same problem where armor and support just aren't quite jiving. And luckily we've got some light tanks here. And I think this is going to be a bad run for the air. Yep. Alright, so good. Let's get back into town quick.
Your reinforcements will be there in no time.
I forgot to look, but I believe I placed some TA that killed some stuff in there. Our air player is flying around with 3 scouts because he keeps getting whacked by the mid-air. I really think that this is probably the primary problem and maybe precipitated all the other issues that we're having on the ground. That we just let their mid-air player go uncontested the whole time. And with respect to my friend Clark, he's not adding a ton of value by rushing heavy tanks and APCs up to the slaughter. There's not really a lot of reason to have a couple heavy tanks like that going up in the battle. And at this point, I think we say we need to get him to switch to mid-air. I kind of wish that Teflon had been more vocal about complaining. He should have been like super tilted at this point that he kept getting killed by uncontested mid-air. But he was actually very stoic about the whole thing. So I think actually to our detriment he was chill. Because if he hadn't been chill, then we might have, said, Clark, all right, no more fun allowed. Stop having fun. Go play mid-air. Oh my God, there were 3 heavy tanks from Clark on the field. I don't know what I gotta say anymore to say. Don't ever have that many heavy tanks if you don't have twice as many light tanks. If you are a noob and you don't know what you're doing, the hard and fast rule you should always follow, literally always follow, is 2-to-1 ratio of light tanks to heavy tanks.
One less hostile, sir.
I've had a pretty successful airborne incursion happening at the research facility for a while here. And I mean they're doing a lot of TA over here, really trying to get it back, but I keep this battle going for quite a while because I got a lot of drops. Ponter mentioned in his video that people were feeding me TA. While this is true, I wasn't getting a lot of it, and I wasn't getting a lot of it early on. So that's what I was kind of mentioning before. Like we had that kind of window of opportunity to take town organically, but we saved too much TA, and we just ended up having to nuke them instead. And that really takes the game out of infantry's hands when you drop a nuke, and it really puts the onus on armor and support to get in there and be able to have a good push. And I think we just weren't getting that this game. Got Beach back. I really want to get research probably. We have a good tick rate here, and I don't know at the time what's about to happen to us. So I think I have a little bit less urgency over here, even though I currently have 45 TA. If I had known what was going to happen, I might have a little more urgency over there, but Teflon's gonna clear that for me.
They've got one of your units.
More artillery here in town, hopefully slow them down a little bit. Yeah, our AA is just getting eaten up on its way into town, which, always kind of happens. I'm not sure what we can do to try and fix that, but
Your reinforcement has arrived.
I wait for him up here at research, get us a little extra TA.
You lost a unit.
For whatever reason, we just cannot hold on to beach. I think it's because this guy is continuing to hang out there. I mean, DMR plays a great game. What else can I say about that? I mean, part of the reason we have issues is because the other team is doing well. I don't think Ponter gave them enough credit, really, for their, at least their micro on the ground. I think their TA was horribly mismanaged, and we'll see the worst of that here in a moment. So absolutely horrible in terms of TA usage, but in terms of actual micro and just playing the game on a ground level, I think they outplayed us. So very strange, not one but two nukes here. I've definitely been in a situation before where I've felt like I've needed to use two nukes to clear the field. I don't know if this would have counted as one of those situations. It's very difficult to defend the two nukes here, and I don't think I'm really gonna try, to be honest, because it's basically indefensible. Maybe one is what they needed. I'm not even sure one is what they needed, because they kept kicking us out of town pretty easily. Eventually, I think he decides to just napalm these forests. If he had that much TA, he should have just done that earlier. Because if you kill this forest and kill a bunch of forests here, it gets a lot harder for me to do those ninja caps. This is one of the more important laser guided bombs I've ever dropped in my life. Because it was going to allow the cap until that napalm came down that I was just talking about. And it was lucky that I got that guy out. And I think this guy saves the game. So that LGB and this decap, I didn't even realize at the time DMOR's taunting me about the LGB, but so many things are happening here. Let me pause it for a second. But yeah, I think that saves the game, because we'll see at the end how close it is. But this is why you never drop on points, ladies and gentlemen, because I believe he's going to end up decapping this without getting credit for the cap. Agent drops right on the points, both dead. Easy. I recap. It's a little extra TA. It shouldn't hurt them as bad just because it's close to the end of the game. But yeah, don't freaking do that crap. They finally recap research. Teflon almost prevented them from doing so. But at this point, we're totally outclassed. Kickapoo's rushing 4 light tanks on the left. Support is completely on the right side, so and he's getting crushed by the air anyway. Our meta is trying to help, but luckily we got some forts up at Supermarket. They've got just a brutal tick rate on us. We nearly lose gas station here. Well, we did lose it. We get it back just briefly. Or we get it back after briefly losing it, I should say. Major problem developing at supermarket. I mean, this is what I meant by them just outplaying us on the ground. DMR played a great game. I mean, just now he had what, 2 captain heavy tanks pushing our spawn areas. Now it's a general. I think the other one died. But they've got captain anti-air vehicle. Now, I remember that happening. I swear that I had gotten the infout. Like, it was out on my screen. Like, I think it was lag. I'm going to call that lag, because I knew the heavy air support was there. I tried to unload the end, but it did not work. Anyway, crazy close match. We got outscored. We got outplayed on the ground. USSR horribly mismanaged TA. USA side mismanaged it slightly less, and that ended up being the difference. Again, USA we could have had an easier go of it if we had used TA at a critical point in the mid game instead of just saving for a nuke. I'll always believe that. Nuke and spam is a thing, but for nuke and spam to work, you need to highly outclass the other side with armor and support. Maybe not highly outclass them, but you need to have an edge there, and I don't think we had that edge. And then USSR saving for those 2 nukes, I'm really not sure what the thought process was there. I'd like to actually hear DMR's rebuttal or his defense of that. I don't know, did someone drop TA on him at the last second? Where did that come from? Because that was a horrible mistake that probably cost them the game. Even if they wanted the nuke, if they had just dropped 1 earlier, then they would have started that whole cascade of a comeback sooner, and it probably would have been a little bit simpler for them. We should not have won this game. They scored more, they outplayed us, but here it is. Here's the outcome. So hope you guys enjoyed the video.